Hello guys, this is Tetz with the Week 5 recap for Season 2. Without any further ado, let's get right into this. Alright guys, for the first match we have Danicki in the St. Louis Sableyes versus the newcomer Houndude in the Atlanta United. And this battle started off with Armado versus Fortress. Hound managed to set up 2 layers of spikes while Danicki brought in a Gudro to KO the Fortress. Danicki had Cresselia brought out against Hound's Mamoswine. The Mamo almost KO'd the Cresselia, prompting a switch to Armado, which set up Stealth Rock and rapid spin the he used rapid spin to spin the spikes away. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Hound had a Vaporeon come out, but it had its leftovers knocked off by the Armado, which switched into Gudra and KO'd the Vaporeon. Mamo and Armado were switched back in, and the Mamo had KO'd the Armado. Zoric was brought in and missed with the Focus Blast when Mamo switched to Mega Sableye. Dan then had Zoric come in with a fling with a Toxic Orb, badly poisoning the Mega Sableye. Rhydon then was switched in, setting up with 2 Swords Dances, but also was burned with in between those 2 Swords Dances with a Will-O-Wisp. The Mega Sableye was then taken out, but the Mammal was brought in, and it took care of the Rhydon. Then after a lot of switching, Gudra took the Mamoswine out, and Zoric KO'd the Victini, giving Danicki the win. Next up, we have Poige in the East Lansing Toxicroaks versus Jordy in the Leeds Rhyhorns. Jordy led with a Flygon, while Poige led with an Espeon. The Flygon had U-turn and badly damaged the Espeon. Jordy's Ferrothorn then switched in, and Poige's Muck came in as well. Jordy tried using Knockoff, but Muck's Steggy Hold stopped him. Jordy then switched in with Miltank and set up Stealth Rocks, but was hit by a Gunk Shot. Poige managed to switch in Tornado's Eye, but it was hit by Stealth Rocks and Miltank's Body Slam, badly damaging it. Jordy switched in with Ferrothorn, but was hit by a Focus Blast. Unfortunately, Poige went for a Tailwind and was KO'd by Ferrothorn's Gyro Ball. Darmanitan was switched in and went for a Flare Blitz. Pharaoh was switched into Miltank and was hit really hard with the Flare Blitz. The Darmanitan went for a Superpower, taking out the Miltank. Jordy brought in his Honchkrow, which whipped about 3 Poige's Pokemon, with Mega Alakazam finally finishing it off. Jordy had his Scarf Infernape come in and dish major damage to Mega Alakazam by U-turning into Ferrothorn, which suffered a critical Psyshock hit when it's on the switching. Mega Alakazam took it out with a Focus Blast, but Infernape came back in and finished it off, and letting Flygon come in to finish off the Darmanitan, giving Jordy the win. Next up, we have Cypher Blocka in the Detroit Lipards versus Feint Attacks in the Manchester Hydreigons. Cypher led with Haxorus, while Feint came out with Hydreigon. Cypher went for an Outrage, taking out the Hydreigon on the first turn. Feint switched in with Tangrowth and knocked off Haxorus' Choice Scarf. Cypher then switched into Arcanine and took a Hidden Power, while then Feint switched out to Keldeo and was given huge damage from Arcanine's close combat. Cypher then switched back into Suicune and was burned from a Scald that the Keldeo had used. Feint then went back into Tangrowth, which was hit by a Scald. Suicune went for another Scald and burned the Tangrowth, weakening its knockoff. Suicune went for a rest while Tang went for a Giga Drain. Cypher then switched back to Arcanine and went for a close combat, but was blocked by a Spirit Tomb that Feint had switched to. Cypher went for a Morning Sun to heal up, while Spirit Tomb missed with the Sucker Punch. The Arcanine went for a Will-O-Wisp and burned the Spirit Tomb, while the Spirit Tomb went for Pursuit, predicting the switch. Arcanine went for a Flare Blitz with while Feint switched to Keldeo. Cypher switched to Suicune, taking a reasonable amount from a Hydro Pump. Feint then switched back into Tangrowth, while Suicune used Sleep Talk, being unlucky to use Rest instead of any other move. Cypher switched to Lando T and set up Stealth Rocks, while Tang used Knockoff, but went down to the burn. The Spirit Tomb was brought out, and Cypher switched to Arcanine, eating a Will-O-Wisp. A Sucker Punch from Spirit Tube did nothing while an Arcanine went for a Flare Blitz and KO'd the Spiritomb. The Megazard Y was brought out and went for a Dragon Pulse, killing the Arcanine. The Megazard Y takes out Mega Alakazam, the Haxorus, and is almost KO'd by the Granbull, leaving 1 HP on the Megazard Y, while the Granbull goes down the next turn. The Mega Caesar finishes off the Megazard Y with a Bullet Punch. Fate brings out his Lucario and goes for a close combat, and the Caesar went for a sub. After roosting a lot by the Mega Caesar, Keldeo was brought out, but the Bullet Punch from Mega Caesar took it out. Lucario comes back in and close combats a lot while the Mega Caesar still roosts for multiple turns. The Caesar then uses a sub and roost in Bullet Punch combination, KOing the Lucario because of all the close combat defense drops, giving Cypher the win. Next up, we have Just Weavile and the Wolverhampton Weaviles versus Denchby and the Viridian Beedrills. Just Weavile starts out with Mega Slowbro, and Dench starts out with regular Gardevoir. Gardevoir uses Shadow Ball, while Just Weavile goes out to Florges. Dench goes out to Golbat after that. After a turn of Whirlwind, the Golbat is switched out for Gardevoir against the Florges again. Both Just Weavile and Dench were also able to get Stealth Rock up early on in the battle. Just Weavile's Garchomp was able to take out the Mew and Golbat, with Dench getting revenge with the Gardevoir. A Mega Slowbro was brought out, and it takes out Dench's Mega Lopunny. But then a Skarmory came out, and the Mega Slowbro was recalled, because Dench had Thunderous Eye. It used Nasty Plot, and in the meantime, it took out the Skarmory with a Thunderbolt, along with a Chandelure that was weakened. Florges also came out and survived a +2 Flash Cannon by a hair's breadth and finished the Thunders off after Chandelure had weakened it. Gardevoir switched in and took out the Florges. Heracross came in and took out the Gardevoir. And Talonflame then came in and finished off the Heracross with the Braver. The Mega Slowbro then came in and finished off the Talonflame, winning the match for Just Weavile. Next up, we have Eric in the Sacramento Kingdras versus War Tortoise and the Oakland Raichus. Eric started out with a Diggersby, while War Tortoise started out with a Quillfish. After taking Earthquake damage and setting up Toxic Spikes, he then switched into Gyarados, while Eric goes to Altaria. Forgetting to Mega Evolve, War Tortoise Dragon Dance, while Eric also Dragon Danced. War Tortoise then Mega Evolved and used Ice Fang, hurting the Mega Altaria, but the Mega Altaria goes for return, taking out the Mega Gyarados. Quillfish then comes back in and revenge kills the Mega Altaria with Aqua Jet. Eric goes out to Noivern and goes for an Air Slash, and War Tortoise goes out to Dusknoir, sponging it up. Dusknoir then goes for an Ice Punch, while Eric goes out to Slowbro, also eating that up at the cost of being poisoned by the Toxic Spikes. The Dusknoir goes for a Thunder Punch, but the Slowbro uses Toxic on the Dusknoir. After switching in Superior on the Slowbro uses Ice Beam and freezes the Superior, probably about the third freeze that Eric has gotten in the league in this season so far. Eric then switches to Machamp after the War Tortoise goes out to Crocodile. The Crocodile then used Knock Off and knocked off its leftovers. Machamp then used Knock Off and killed the Dusknoir. War Tortoise then switched out Dragonite and used Dragon Claw to take out the Machamp. Eric switched in with Feraligatr, which got hit by a Dragon Claw but gets a KO with Ice Fang on the Dragonite. War Tortoise's Crocodile comes in and finishes off the Feraligatr and gains a Moxie boost. Noivern then comes in but is also OHKO'd with Knockoff, and the Crocodile gets another Moxie boost. The same fate befalls both Diggersby and Slowbro, giving War Tortoise the match. Next up, we have Rizzipow and the Phoenix Implorers versus Slaxorus and the Houston Axios. Riz starts with an Azumarill, while Slaxorus started out with a Frostlass. A Frostlass will go out to Amoonguss, hurting the Azumarill with a Rocky Helmet when the Azumarill hits it. Riz then goes out to Roserade, and Slax goes back to Frostlass. Roserade switches out to Rotom Heat, and it takes an Ice Beam from the Frostlass. The Rotom Heat goes for Overheat, taking the Frostlass down to 1 HP with the Focus Sash. The Garchomp switches in with Frostlass, and the Rotom goes for a Volt Switch, but the Garchomp absorbs it up because it was part ground. The Rotom Heat then switches to Bronzong, and the Garchomp Mega Evolves in subs. The Bronzong uses HP Ice, and the Mega Garchomp goes for an EQ, but Bronzong's Levitate nullified it. The Bronzong then uses HP Ice again and hits the Hippowdon that came in on the switch. The Hippowdon goes for Stealth Rocks while Riz does massive damage with a Grass Knot. The Hippowdon goes for Slack Off while Bronzong uses Stealth Rocks. Riz misclicks and goes for another Stealth Rock again while the Amoonguss comes back in. Bronzong switches into Roserade while Amoonguss uses HP Fire. Gliscor then switches in on the HP Fire. The Gliscor goes for Earthquake and Amoonguss goes for Giga Drain. After using Protect, Gligar uses Swords Dance while the Amoonguss uses Giga Drain again. With another Protect, Gliscor goes for an EQ, but misses because of the Togekiss coming in. Amoonguss comes back in and gets hit hard by a Facade. Amoonguss then switches back out to a Hippowdon and is two-hit KO'd by an Earthquake. Mega Garchomp comes back in and the Gliscor goes for another Earthquake after taking a Dragon Claw. After taking another Dragon Claw, after giving another Dragon Claw to the Gliscor, Mega Garchomp is KO'd by another Earthquake. Togekiss comes out and Gliscor protects. The Gliscor then takes out the Togekiss with a Facade. After protecting, the Gliscor goes for an Earthquake, taking out the Escadrille that comes in. Gliscor switches to Rotom Heat and takes a Shadow Ball from a Frostlass. But after Volt switching, it's taken down by a Destiny Bond. Latios and Amoonguss are left, and Latios takes down the Amoonguss, leaving Riz the victor. Next up, we have Moxie and Fernape in the Baltimore Braviaries versus Baiser in the San Francisco 49ers. Moxie and Fernape started out with a Sandslash, while Baiser started out with his Celebi. The Celebi used the sub, while the Sandslash used Knockoff, taking out the sub. The Celebi used Seed Bomb, and the Sandslash would use Knockoff. The Sandslash then would switch to Registeel and absorbing the Seed Bomb. The Registeel throws out a Stealth Rock while Celebi sets up another sub. Celebi goes for a Swords Dance Baton Pass combo while Regirock tried to break the sub, but to no avail. The Hitmonlee comes out with Celebi sub and starts while another Iron Head breaks the sub. The Registeel switches to Salamence and takes a knockoff to the face. The Hitmonlee then goes out to Endure, but the Salamence uses Toxic. The Hitmonlee switches to Diancie while the Salamence uses Roost to get back its health. The Salamence then goes back out to Registeel, absorbing a Moonblast. Diancie switches to Porygon 2 and the Registeel T-Waves it. The Porygon 2 uses Ice Beam on a Thundurus T that got switched in. The Thundurus Therian uses Volt Switch and goes to Gallade, while the Porygon 2 goes for a Tri-Attack and gets a burn on the Gallade. Unfortunately, the Porygon 2 would go back out to Celebi, while Mega Gallade uses a Close Combat, KOing the Celebi. The Diancie would come back in, forcing a switch to the Registeel, which allowed the Diancie to use Heal Bell. The Registeel switches into to Braviary, allowing Diancie to set up Stealth Rocks. Registeel switches back in onto a Diamond Storm, soaking it up. Registeel switches again while Diancie switches into Porygon 2. Braviary uses Superpower, KOing the Porygon 2. The Gengar comes in, prompting Registeel to switch in. Gengar uses two Focus Blasts, but misses while the Registeel uses Iron Head. The Focus Blast finally hits, KOing the Registeel, and Thundurus T comes in, while the Gengar switches over to Diancie, and the Thundurus Therian uses the Volt Switch to go back out to Sandslash. Sandslash used Knockoff, and Diancie uses a Moonblast, KOing the Sandslash. The Braviary comes back in and roosts, and Diancie uses Diamond Storm. And the Braviary would use Superpower, but it was KO'd. The Mega Gallade comes in and makes the Hitmonlee faint when the Diancie switches out to it. The Staraptor comes out, prompting a Sack switch to Thundurus T. The Salamence comes in, and the Staraptor uses U-turn to go back out to Diancie. The Salamence uses Toxic and Roost, while the Diancie uses Moonblast, dealing damage. The Diancie falls to the Toxic, and the Gengar comes back out and KOs the Salamence, and the Mega Gallade KOs the Gengar, but unfortunately the Staraptor would come in and finish off the Mega Gallade, giving Baiser the win. And for the last match, we have Mystic Umbreon and the Star Umbreons versus the Rage Knight and the Memphis Ursaring. Mystic started out with a Mienshao, and Rage started out with a Zapdos. The Mienshao went for a U-turn, while the Rage Knight went out to Manaphy. the Mega Gardevoir was brought out and stubbed while the Rage Knot went out into Drapion. Mega Gardevoir used Hyper Voice while the Drapion goes for a Cross Poison. The Drapion goes out into Entei after taking a Hyper Voice, and it goes down to a Psychic in the next turn. Zapdos comes out and uses T-Bolt on Mystic's then made sub. The Mega Gardevoir then uses Hyper Voice, and Zapdos uses T-Bolt, taking out the Mega Gardevoir. Mienshao comes in while Zapdos switches out into Manaphy. Mienshao uses Knockoff, not doing too much damage. And the Durant then switches in with Mienshao while the Manaphy sets up with a Calm Mind. Durant uses X-Scissor but is KO'd by Scald. The Mienshao comes back in and uses High Jump Kick, taking out the Manaphy. Mega Venusaur comes out and Mienshao switches out to Bisharp while Mega Venusaur misses with a Sleep Powder. Bisharp goes for a Psycho Cut and Mega Venusaur lands Elite Seed. Bisharp and Mega Venusaur enter a Stall War, with the Mega Venusaur going out to Drapion and cancelling out the Psycho Cut or the Dark typing on the Drapion. Bisharp then uses Low Kick and Drapion uses Knockoff. The Bisharp uses Low Kick again and Zapdos comes out and the Leech Seed kills the Bisharp. Mienshao comes out and uses Stone Edge to KO the Zapdos. The Mega Venusaur comes out and uses Sludge Bomb and crits on the Mienshao. Mienshao will go for Stone Edge again anyways, and the Mienshao would switch back out to Murkrow, taking a Seed Bomb, and it would go for Brave Bird, KOing the Mega Venusaur and itself. The Typhlosion and Hitmontop will both come out, with the Hitmontop going for a Fake Out, making the Typhlosion flinch. The Typhlosion would use Extra Sensory, barely hitting the Hitmontop, which would use Earthquake, killing it. And the Mienshao would go for a High Jump Kick, taking out the Drapion after the Hitmontop was switching to Drapion, and the Hitmontop would come back out and use Fake Out to take out the Mienshao, giving Rage Knot the win. And that ends this week's weekly recaps. Until the next video, I hope to see you guys later. Until then, take care and goodbye.